What is up? My name is Bo. You can find me on Twitter X at Mavs Highlights, doing only and just the Mavsiest. Oh, the very Mavsiest of Mavsy things. And you've stumbled across this video maybe because you have hot opinions about one Timothy Dwayne Hardaway Jr. We know his dad has some really high opinions of his boy, which every father should. Golf claps for you, senior. Good job, good job. But just to be fair, I want to give my hand away, put my cards on the table, as it were, and let you know that I have been highly skeptical of THJ for going on 3.5 years. I was an early adopter to the, hey, could we get something of value for him? Not that he doesn't have any value, but could we trade in? Could we cash in on his offensive value, on his three-point shooting value, especially his perceived value around the league? Could we perhaps get another defensive-minded wing? Could we, for several years, could we trade this offensive-minded guard for a defensive-minded big? Could we find a GM that's hungry for some three-point shooting? And so I was very early on that. To say I've been critical of THJ is extremely, extremely true. And so I'm going to be glancing to my right, your left throughout the video to kind of just gauge in on some of the notes. But I've got some really interesting statistical discoveries that I found, because I've had strong held opinions about THJ for a long time, like you have. Maybe you love him. Maybe you're like, oh, if we could just get THJ on a heater through the playoffs, like back a couple years ago against the Clippers in that 7-game series where he shot really well. If we could just get that THJ, the Mavs are unstoppable, right? You may be thinking like that. Or you might be just like, man, don't give that clown more than 10 minutes a game in the playoffs. So whether you're on this side of the spectrum or that side, no matter where you are, I've got some numbers that I dug up, and it honestly was illuminating to me. Some of my opinions preconceived were validated. And so we're going to just kind of dig through that. Just so you know, all the numbers, or most of the numbers I'm going to throw on the screen here in the next few minutes, came from basketballreference.com. So if the numbers are mistaken, if you go to a different database and you have maybe access to deeper databases than I have, I only have the free ones online. If you've got some accounts, your paid prescriptions, and you can confront me with the real facts, please do that in the comment section, or tweet at me, or whatever it's called now on X, over there at Mavs Highlights. I promise I would love to engage with you. I'd love to talk with you. What's up, Brandon? We need THJ to play, but to take great shots and not hand in the face shots. Oh, Brandon, I think you and I may be on similar paths. So just for full transparency, I've been critical. Let's keep moving though. So first off, let's discuss. And by the way, leave a like, leave a comment. I promise I'll engage with every comment we get, whether it's on Twitter or here on YouTube for the TMP. But first off, what is THJ? Mull over that for yourself. Brandon, you're welcome to. Anyone else watching, you're welcome to think about that. What do you think THJ is? I mean, obviously he's a human being, basketball player. Seems like a really great human being, nice guy, pretty handsome dude, always got that beard looking tight. But as a basketball player on the floor, what is he? So I mulled over this for a little while over the last couple weeks. I've been thinking about this video for the last couple weeks. And so here's what I came up with. I'm interested to see if you guys have different responses in your comments. So here's what I think he is. I think he's a floor stretching volume three-point shooter. Now, each one of those phrases we could take, plenty of time to describe, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you're a basketball head, right? You're a ball head. You understand what those phrases mean. He stretches the floor. He's a threat on the perimeter, and he's going to get up shots. Often it's the no, yes kind of shots, like Brandon was kind of pointing out, not the shots we always want him to take. He's got an itchy trigger finger, to say the least. And over his stretch with the Mavs, probably throughout his NBA career, but I've watched basically every game throughout his Mav career, every minute of every game throughout his Mav career. And man, that light is green, ain't it? That's like the deepest, richest green. That's like when your girl tells you she wants an emerald. for an anniversary or a birthday. You're going out to look for the green that THJ has when it comes to pulling that jumper, right? Scott, what's up? Break glass in case of emergency. So you're on the other end of the spectrum, right? You're like, man, I don't know. If someone's hurt, or in case he gets out there and he makes his first couple threes, leave him in. Let's put him on that heater, right? So, in my opinion, he's not really bringing you anything else other than floor stretching and the potential to shoot some threes. Honestly, I don't think anything else in his game is deserving of comment, or especially of positive comment. Like, so in this video, I'm not going to be hypercritical, because we certainly could be. I'm not going to be hypercritical looking at him as, a passer or a playmaker, because, man, we could be pretty critical, couldn't we? He as a passer and a playmaker, he's below NBA standards, right? As a dribbler, I don't even, as a dribbler, he's not even good like college standard. Like he's just not a great ball handler. He's not a great facilitator. He's not a great playmaker. That's okay. That's not what he's on the court for. Jason Kidd puts him on the court to stretch the floor, to be a threat from range, and then when he's hot, to hit threes. Like, that's all he has. Let's not even dig deep on his defensive prowess or lack thereof. I will talk about some defensive metrics, because they're very important as we see the player as a whole and what he actually brings and how he actually contributes and impacts the Mavs. So this year is his 10th season, right? So 10 years of production from old THJ. So right off the bat, in his 10-year career, and I'm going to throw these on the screen here for you. Oh, let me minimize myself. Here we go. So in his 10-year career, he is a just under 42% field goal. That's all shots. He's just under 42%. Now, I want to go easy on that, because most of his shots are three-point attempts. So let's just right off the bat acknowledge that, okay, he's not going to shoot some 48, 49% from the field when most of his shots are from deep or from range, and he's not Steph Curry, right? Like he's not Ray Allen, he's not Reggie Miller, he's not Larry Bird, he's THJ. So he's shooting just under 42% from the field for his career. Now that's over 10 seasons. That includes his first couple seasons in the league when he wasn't very productive at all. So that's kept in there, right? He's a just under 42% a field goal shooter with a career average of 36.1%. Now, if you can imagine, think back with me to the 6 or 7 years ago in the league. If you were shooting 36% from three, you know what you were called? A three-point shooter. You were someone who could be relied upon to shoot threes. Just as the league was turning its gears, as Steph's change had really started impacting the league, you were shooting 36%. You're shooting above league average, right? You were a solid shooter. But so when we look at his career average of 36.1%, I just wanted to throw out a couple other comps, right? A couple comps for guys who've been in the league for a while now who shoot 37% or above. So THJ's he just scrapes past 36%. Who are some of the guys who shoot 37% for their career? This might make you giggle. How about Pat Bev? Known sniper, Patrick Beverley. Okay. Now, he's not shooting as many threes. Let's be fair. Add some context, right? He may not even be shooting as difficult as threes as THJ. That's fair. But still, he's shooting better than 37% for his career. Oh, Kobe White. Yeah. Known three-point specialist. Or how about, we have a little bit of experience with this gentleman, Christian Wood. That doesn't actually shock me about C. Wood, that he's got a pretty solid, better than league average, three-point shooting career average. So none of those guys, though, we consider snipers. Yet for some reason, it seems like around the league, and for the longest time in MFFL circles, Tim was considered like a great shooter. A great shooter. And I think some of this comes from, he's probably one of those guys who in scrimmages and in practices and in shooting drills with the team is just lights out. Now we know in the NBA, you got centers who are lights out in practice, right? You got Dwight Powell probably barely misses threes in the shooting drills, right? But my guess is THJ has earned his reputation largely amongst players by playing with them in practice, right? And he probably just barely ever misses, because that barely ever missing is not something he's ever brought to the in-game statistical category of his career. So let's talk. So yeah, he's been with the Mavs now for several seasons. Let's not hold his rookie year against him. let's not form our opinion based on those first 2 or 3 seasons where he's finding his footing in the league. Let's look at his Mavs career. Let's look at just his Mavs career. So here he is as a Maverick. 41.7% from the field. So that's lower. That's lower than I think it was, what was it before first career he was shooting? Yeah, 41.8. 41.7, so the same. And for his 3-point, here's where we got you. Here's where we got you, you cynic. Look at that 3-point jump. Right, from 36.1 to 37.3 as a Maverick. There you go. Suck it, you doubters. Well, my friends, that's what I like to call the Luka bump. You remember during Dirk's career when free agents would come in and they would automatically just start, their percentages would just all rise? They would just all rise? That was the Dirk bump. Well, if you are a predominantly catch and shoot player of any worth at all, you come to the Mavericks and you get what we just call the Luka bump, right? You are going to experience the as if given from on high blessing of receiving perfect in the pocket passes from Luka Doncic, where there's no one within 3 or 4 feet of you. And you've got time to lace up, to put your fingers on the laces and, test the wind, and you can let that ball fly. And so, to be fair, THJ spent his whole career here with Luka, and his 3-point percentages have gone up a tick. They've gone up a little bit more than a whole percentage. So there we go. It's a 1.2% bump compared to his career averages. But for me, and I think for you too, this is a what have you done for me lately kind of league. Scott says THJ gets the ball stripped. He's like he's in high school. Oh, 1 or 2 dribbles just to get him a better look, and that's it. Yeah, I agree. That dribble to the left, that dribble to the right. I don't want a lot of north-south action. I want east-west action from him to spring himself from a defender that flies by and pull the 3, right? Christian Wood, spaghetti fingers himself. Nice guy. There we go. So this is a what have you done for me lately league, right? So let's talk about how THJ has been these last 3 seasons with the Mavs. Now, I picked that arbitrarily. It wasn't because if I'd have gone 4, these numbers would have radically shifted or something like that. I picked 3, but just because it sounded better than 2. And because over the last 3 years, Luka has really stepped into his own as an absolutely dominating force in the league. So in his last 3 seasons with the Mavericks, let's see how he is doing. Oops, let me make that one go away there. So in the last 3 seasons, he dips back down towards his career averages of 36.3% from 3. So here's the sniper we're relying on. 36.3% from 3 over the last several seasons. All right? And then this season, he is shooting, you see it right there, below his league averages, below his career averages, below his Maverick averages by far. He's shooting 35.3% from 3. And he's not just shooting 1 or 2 a game. He's shooting 7.5 a game. 7.5 threes. Now, listen, if he's on the court, I want him shooting 3s. As I've already said, I think that's the only NBA skill he brings to the floor, is as a volume 3-point shooter. If he's open, I want him shooting them. I mean, especially during the regular season. So that number 7.6 doesn't bother me. It's the percentage in conjunction with the number that bothers me. This season, THJ, we know he's gone through long stretches where he was horrifically bad this season. We know that, right? Everyone knows that. He's probably even acknowledged it. I remember him talking about Kyrie, trying to encourage him when he was going through that drought. But listen, let's not pretend like that was some anomaly for his career. Now, the extent of it may have been an anomaly, right? But THJ has always been a legendarily streaky shooter where he will have an amazing 2 or 3 games where he wins you a couple games. You see, I'm being magnanimous. He can win you a couple games when he's hot. When he is hot in conjunction with Luke and Kyrie and the other players on this team, THJ can win you some games. But after those 2 or 3 games of where he's on a heater, you almost need to pack him in ice and put him away because the pendulum is going to swing the other direction. It always has throughout his whole career. Especially, like I said, I've been watching every game he's played as a Maverick, and it always the cold games have outnumbered the hot games. And that's just not what great shooters do. Great shooters find a baseline. They can be good. They can be better than that baseline. They can be worse than that baseline. But THJ he'll be good for a little bit. Like it's like if you think about the stock market, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. THJ is a little bit up, and sometimes it's way up, but then that down is way, way down, and it stays down longer than it stays up. That's been our experience with him as Maverick fans. So the last 3 seasons, he's been shooting 36.3, but this season he's been shooting 35.3% on 7.5 shots a game from deep. You might go, well, listen, hey, let's be fair to the guy. Maybe he's just a league average 3-point shooter. As a Mav, remember his average, you did say, was over 37%. Yeah, but over these last 3 seasons, 36%. So maybe he's league average. Maybe he's just an average 3-point shooter. Well, no. This season, league average from the stats that I could dig up is 36.6%. So better than 36.5%. THJ shooting, 35.7. THJ is a whole percentage point worse than league average. Guys. So technically, I'm not being mean when I say this, technically, Timothy Hardaway Jr. is a below average 3-point shooter in 2024. I just want you to see that number, 36.6 league average from 3. So the idea that's been floated around here for a while that THJ is a big plus in-game shooter is a myth. He has had a couple good seasons. He had one season where he shot just under 40% from 3 as a Mav. We'll talk about that in a second. That was his, oh, if he could be this all the time guy, right? But he's not. He's up, he's way down. He's up, he's way down. He is not a great shooter, in-game shooter. He might be the most beautiful shooter you've ever seen in practice. He might win most of the shooting competitions in practice. In-game, the stats say he is not a great 3-point shooter. Now, you might want to say there's context, right? He's shooting a lot of hard shots. And what I would say is, yeah, I would say some of those hard shots are on him. Because we see all the open shots, right? We see all the wide open shots he gets. And yet he still is also taking a lot of high difficulty shots. So someone says, listen, he's shooting those really, really hard shots. He's shooting highly difficult shots. Did you know that THJ's shots are almost 80% assisted? When THJ makes a shot, it's because someone created the shot for him. Luka, Kyrie, someone else, who knows, maybe a kick out from one of the centers out of the post to him. Maybe, Dante Exum's flying through the lane, or Josh Green flying through the lane and kicks it out to him. So almost 80%. You don't have to be a math major to understand. That's almost 4 out of 5, right? So 80% of his looks, of his made buckets, are assisted buckets. He's not out there creating his own shots. He's not out there creating looks. So if you say, yeah, but he's taking tough looks, I'm telling you, of the ones he makes, someone else made the look for him. All right, somebody else created the look for him. He does not have to take a lot of hard looks. Now, if you get the ball and the buzzer's about to sound at the end of the shot clock or the quarter or the half, of course, you got to jack it up. But that's not what this represents, right? When he is making baskets, it's because someone else created the shot for him. The idea that THJ is not benefiting wildly from open looks created by Luka and Kyrie especially is insane. They create him awesome looks all game long, just like they do for PJ, just like they do for Exum, just like they do for DJJ. Like, they create open looks for everyone. That's what they do. They are gravitational forces. I mean, they're like black holes of gravity, or they just suck in all the gravity. But the idea that THJ is, his numbers a little lower because he's constantly taking really, really hard shots and that's what the team asks of him, no. If he's taking bad looks, it's because he wants to take bad looks. He gets plenty of wide open looks. So here we go. Hey, what's up, William? What's up, man? William says, let me catch up here with the stream. William says, I feel like it's not a consistent percentage. He shoots 50% for 20 games, 10% for another 20. Yeah, he's an incredibly streaky, except I would flip the game numbers, actually. I'd say he's going to shoot a lower percentage for more games. And I would say the data really proves that out, William, is that he shoots the lower percentage for the more games, and he shoots that game-winning type hot shooting for a much smaller percentage. Scott says, where do you think THJ's basketball IQ is? I wouldn't rate it highly. To be honest, I don't mean that as a criticism. I think he's a gunner. He's a chucker. And I do mean that kind of insultingly. I don't like those kind of players. I like it. Listen, I got 21 years of Dirk Nowitzki, right? Like you did. Like that's the kind of offense I respect and love. And if you're going to take a shot, you're going to make it a lot of the time. And THJ he's not wired that way. He's a gunner. And so it's not, listen, when I criticize him, I'm really criticizing the coaching. I'm really criticizing the people who put him in the positions to do that. Because that's just the way he's wired. He is a gunner. So I wouldn't say he's like Luka or J Kidd or Kyrie, one of these just off the charts basketball IQ guys. I think he just has one speed, and it's go. It's shoot, right? That's the way he thinks. And I don't even mean that as a criticism, because some guys like that are awesome. William says, he's been cold forever now. Absolutely play him in the playoffs. But if he's not hot in the first 15 minutes, bench him. I don't even know if he's going to be getting 15 minutes in the playoffs. I mean, if he's hot, yeah, he will. Kid will ride him for sure. But 15 minutes, I think, is about his cap. He creates the hard shots. Yeah, right? He's the one forcing himself into taking hard shots because he won't just take the good shots. He also wants to create extra shots, and those would rely someone who can dribble at an NBA level, and I don't think he can. He creates the hard shots. Yeah, THJ needs to lean into the catch and shoot mentality. Absolutely. And that's it. Stop trying to create. Absolutely. Stop trying to create for yourself. Stop. I don't mean to be a bad teammate, but don't even worry about creating for your teammates. Let Luka do that. Let Kyrie do that. Let Exum do that. Man, goodness, let Gafford or Lively do that. They are all better playmakers than you. You catch, and when you're open, you shoot. And if you're not open, you just make the basic pass to your next teammate. Let the ball rotate, right? Scott says, absolutely, Kidd allows him to be this bad. Yeah, Carlisle gave him the green light, and Kidd has just, I think, even increased it, right? All right, so here we go. He's not, all of his makes, 4 out of 5 of his makes are assisted. Let's keep moving. You know what? Let me say something nice about THJ. Scott, I'm seeing you're down there with that 6 man of the year comment. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame Kidd for saying that. You want to build up a player, right? But I think we all just kind of rolled our eyes and said, man, THJ as an actual 6 man would be the dream scenario. But then, he fell back to earth after some hot games there in the first half of the season. So let me give THJ a compliment, right? Let me give him a compliment. Here he is. Catch and shoot. Catch and shoot. He is a 39.1% corner 3 shooter. This is better than anything else he does right here. And I know this is a compliment. Let me also just add a little context. This is not amazing from the corner, but this is good. This is solid. This is acceptable. 39.1% from corner 3. Yes, please. Take the corner 3, THJ. Take the corner 3. Please shoot that. Please shoot that. What is it here? Over the last 2 seasons, this number's for over his last 2 seasons. He's a 39.1% shooter from corner 3s, and a little over 1 out of every 4. So 26% of the 3s he takes are from the corner. So that's good. Let's just increase that percentage. Let's let Exum be on the wing and at the top of the key shooting 3s. Let's kind of nudge THJ more to the corners. He's proven in his career, especially over these last 2 seasons, he hits those shots at a really solid clip. It's not mind-blowing, but 39 is almost 40. Listen, if I feel like I'm grasping at straws here, I just want to give the guy some compliments, right? Put him in the corner, and I think he does okay. So now I want to give you some what I think are devastating numbers, right? I'm not trying to be mean. This is just what the numbers said. All right. So over his career, THJ has an offensive rating of 109. Now, 109 right now and today, not in 2024, is not awesome, but he's been in the league for 10 years, guys. Context, right? This is a solid 10-year career offensive rating, which is how is the offense performing in the possessions he's on the floor if you stretch it out and average it out to 100 possessions. That's how they get net, right? And so his offensive rating is 109 over his career. That's really solid, especially when you look back over the 10 years of his career where offense wasn't like insanity like it is right now. Like offense is just spectacular right now. And everybody knows that. I'm not letting anyone in on a secret there. Offense is just amazing right now. So he, over his 10-year career, he's got a 109 offensive rating. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's positive, right? Well, over his 10-year career, he has a 114 defensive rating. You don't have to be good at the numbers to know that means that over his 10-year career, he has had a negative influence on the floor. In the minutes he plays, his team is losing those minutes. There's a lot of context that goes into that, of course. These are just basic facts. It's just basic facts. And over his 10 years, that's a long time to look at someone. His offenses have worked pretty well when THJ is on the floor. 109 offensive rating. Now, that wouldn't be good in today's game, but over the last 10 years, I feel good about that. I think that's an offensive-minded player. You'd look at that offensive rating and you'd go, that's an offensive player. And then you'd see the defensive rating, you'd go, oh, that's an offense-only player. So much so that over his career, he's a net -5. And that's not what you want to see. It's not what you want to see, right? You say, well, that's his 10-year career again. Let's be fair. Let's talk about just the last few seasons as a Mav. Once again, I just picked 3 seasons. His last 3 seasons as a Maverick, he has a -8 net, worse than his career. His career is a -5 net. Over his last 3 seasons as a Mav, he has a -8 net. Let me just make sure I got that. Yeah, here it is. So he has, once again, as a Mav over the last 3 seasons, he has the same offensive rating, 109, but he has a 117 defensive rating. His team is losing his minutes on the floor. His team is losing, and not like by a tiny margin. It's not like you could say, well, there's got to be some wiggle room in there. If it was 0.3, 0.5, 0.6 difference, I go, yeah, this is basically a neutral player. Basically a neutral player, but a net -8. Playing almost 30 minutes a night, guys. That's almost starters minutes. When all of the data is going to show you that you are not a positive on the floor. Right? Not only do your career numbers say that, hey, over your career, your team has suffered in your minutes. You're a net negative player. But just in the last 3 seasons, as Luka has ascended, THJ has descended, right? A net -8 in almost 29 minutes a night. Guys, that upsets me because to me, that feels like, now some of that, let's be fair. Context, once again, context, nuance. Some of that is, man, and before this season, we were just looking for guys to shoot the ball, right? We were a talent poor roster. And so in years past, I want you to hear me say this, in years past, I wasn't happy about it, but in years past, you had to have him on the floor. You had to have him out on the floor. At least he was a floor stretcher, right? At least he had a bit of a threat around the league as being a guy you didn't want to leave wide open, even though all of his numbers would say he's not really a sniper. But he's a gunner. I mean, he'll get him up. He'll get him up, right? But this season, having numbers like this is just catastrophic, while still playing significant minutes. Now, his minutes over the last 20 games or so have taken a huge dip because I think Kid is finally really tuning up for a team that represents the style he really wants to play. He's like, oh, post-trade deadline, right? Adding PJ, adding Gafford, I got a roster now that can play more my style of ball. And you've seen THJ's minutes take a pretty wild dip over that time. If nothing else, what you can say without any malice or any rudeness is that defense, his team's defense, massively struggles when he is on the floor, statistically speaking. Are there other variables that go into that? Of course. But as a fact, you can say when he's on the floor, team defense really, really struggles. So you might say, oh, come on, man. Let's cut the guy a break, right? Let's cut the guy a break. Because the Mavs have been in fuego over the last, I'm going to say that 18-game stretch, because the last 2 games they were trying to lose. They're resting starters. So we're going to leave the last 2 games of this season, just chop them right off the block. They don't count, right? They're not a part of this, okay? But the 18 games before that, when they were 16-2, firing on what felt like all cylinders. Now, you still had Josh Green coming back from injury. You got Derek Lively spraining his knee and then going through the tragedy with his mom. All those things were happening, but the team was still blasting fools. And even in the tight games, they were always finding ways to win. And it didn't look like luck, right? It looked like a new identity. Gritty, tough, scrappy. junkyard dogs. If you haven't heard me say it before, I love to say the Mavs this year are 2 Lamborghinis and junkyard dogs, right? Because they got Luka, they got Kyrie, they got the shot makers, the shot creators, they got the shot callers, they got the ballers, right? But then they also have the rest of this roster that just like will snarl at you. You don't want to push them in the chest because they may push you right back and push harder, right? Like they are tough. They're tough. What's up, TGK, my man? What's up? And so here we go. While the Mavs were blowing and going, blowing people off the floor. I mean, there were some close games in there, some big games in there, some big wins in there against like the likes of the Nuggets and the scorching hot Rockets and just some other really solid teams in there for sure. But during that hot stretch, here's the team, not Luka, not Kyrie, not Gafford, the whole team during that 16-2 stretch put up an offensive rating that would have been best in the league, 119.7. Now, that's about a quarter of the season, right? That's about a quarter of the season. That's what the team did. That is bonkers. That is bonkers good. They were exploding people offensively, and that's not even what I'm most excited about, and probably not what you're most excited about either. It's that other number. Let's go down. 107.2 defensive rating. That would clear them as the best defensive team in the league. The best, better than the Timberwolves. This would have had them as the best over the last stretch of the season. Right, once again, cut off those last 2 games that they were tanking, right? That they were losing. Not tanking, resting their starters, resting for the playoffs, because no one gets offended when you rest for the playoffs. They just get offended at the other thing, right? And only at the Mavs. 107.2. 119.7 offense, 107.2 defense for a plus 12.5 net. That would have been best in the league. Absolutely, they would have been. Now, can you ask a team to play that well for the whole season? I don't know. Without a few hiccups and things like that throughout the season, I don't know. But over that 18-game stretch, that's what the team's doing. I want you to remember these numbers. 119.7, 107.2. The whole team. Not just the starters, not the best 5-man lineup. The whole team did that over that 18-game stretch. What did THJ do? While the team was riding a high, while chemistry was just at an all-time Everest level high, how did THJ contribute to that incredible hot stretch? Well, when the offensive rating of the whole team, so all other players combined, was 119.7, THJ was giving you an offensive rating of 104. Look at that. Take it in. Just drink it in. While the whole team was giving an offensive rating of 119.7. Now, guys like Gafford and Lively, by the way, during the stretch, their offensive ratings were I think Gafford's was in the 150s or something bonkers, like impossible. And Lively's was, I think, in the high 130s or 140s during that stretch where they were absolutely at their best. Some of the best ball we've seen the Mavs play in a decade. THJ and his minutes, he was you've heard of the guy in that, what's it called, the oh gosh, I can't think of it, when you got the score breaker, the grade breaker, what's it called when you have like that one great student that always gets A+ on everything and messes it up for everybody else on average? What's that called? Something breaker, I think. Here we got THJ going the exact opposite direction. He's the one dragging the rest of the class down with him. And you might go, well, at least the defense had to be great, right? No. While the Mavs were playing 107.2 defense as a team, in THJ's minutes, they were 111. That's a net -7 when the team as a whole was a plus 12.5 net. There's nuance, right? There's subtlety. There's context. I understand. But those are just bald, flat numbers. Yeah, he messes with the curve. A curve breaker. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Something like that, right? Thanks, William. That's a swing from what THJ did over this unbelievable stretch of basketball where the Mavs were the best team in the league. It's a swing of 19.5 from what THJ was giving us to what the Mavs as a team were doing. That is hard to do. It is hard for a good player to do something like that. Let me throw it back at it. Do you see those numbers? That is hard for a good player to do. When I was looking this up, I had to almost triple check these numbers. I was like, what? because I knew he wasn't good while the rest of us, while the team was playing so great. But I didn't know it was that bad. All right, now I just want to kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. I got a couple notes, so I'm going to be glancing over here a little bit to you. But I heard my buddy Nick Angstead of Locked On Mavs fame, and I love Nick. In the early days of Locked On Mavs, I had a podcast. He had his starting his podcast, or took over the Locked On podcast, and so I've been on there a few times and all stuff. Nick's the nicest guy in the world, and I think he's one of the most important people on Twitter X for the Mavs faithful. His consistency, brother, you did it, man. I have no right to be proud of you, but like, thank you for being so consistent and grinding and growing so much as a broadcaster and a hoop head. You've done great. But Nick was talking about a couple seasons ago when the Mavs faced the Clippers. He was talking in his most recent podcast about the previous matchups we've had against the Clippers, right? And he was like, THJ was really good in those series, and I just went back because I remember THJ having a few really important games where he was kind of the difference in the win and the loss, and he was really good in some of those games. But even still, he wasn't awesome. His numbers, I think he was like a 36% field goal, not 3-point. I think he was like a 36% field goal shooter in the series in 2020. Like he put up like 17.6 again. I don't have that written down. That's off the top of my head. 17.6 is the number that's in my head. Points a game, which is great. I mean, like, we needed those points. We weren't getting them from anywhere else. While other people were stepping back, THJ is always willing to take the J, right? He'll take that jumper. He'll take that look. You give him that opportunity, he'll take the shot. And then in the following year, in 2021, when Kristaps was just almost unplayable, and then I think he hurt his knee, and Luka was just going insane. The previous series in 20 went to 6 games, and THJ scored a little bit higher. And in 2020, he scored, I think, 17 points a game even. And in that series, to be fair, it went to 7 games, which makes sense when you realize he shot better than 40%. He shot 40.4% from 3 in that series. So he was actually solid. He was solid in that series. Not earth-shattering or anything like that, but he was solid. We got good THJ for a few of those games, and not so great THJ for some of those other games, to be fair. So here's what I want to give you. And I this isn't so much data as much as an observation. It's not for nothing that when THJ got hurt the following year in 2022, the Mavs took off. The Mavs absolutely took off. You can say, oh, that's coincidence or something like that. Yeah, maybe. I mean, not entirely, for sure. All of a sudden, you had a team that was more cohesive, more willing to pass. The ball was flying, the ball was moving. It was Dorian Finney-Smith, it was Bullock, it was Dinwiddie, it was Luka, of course, right? It was Maxey hitting a lot of threes. And in 2022, the Mavs take off after THJ goes down for the season. He doesn't play any of those playoff games and didn't play any in the second half or the latter half of the season in 2022. And the Mavs get scorching hot, race into the playoffs, and go to the Western Conference Finals. And to me, that has to be indicative of something, right? When you go out and the team gets significantly better, because all of a sudden now you're allowing guys who can defend on the floor, or at least to play more minutes. And man, we rode Bullock and we rode Finney-Smith, didn't we? But you know what? They're also statistically as good at three-point shooters, in some cases better three-point shooters than THJ is, right? And so, like, just to me, that's a tough look. When you go down, the team really takes off and then makes it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. That means something, right? That means something. And if I could just... And on this year's squad, we've got Exum, we got PJ, we got Josh Green, we got Derrick Jones Jr. All of those are better all-around players than Timmy are. They just are. They're better all-around basketball players. They will contribute more to winning on a consistent night-in and night-out basis more regularly than Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, can Timmy get on a heater and do more than those guys can on an individual night? Yeah, because he's the only guy of that group that's maybe, PJ scored 40 a couple times in his career. Right, but Timmy's the most likely one to go bonkers from 3. When that right hand is touched by the hand of God, you want him shooting those threes, right? But how often does that happen, guys? I haven't crunched the numbers to find out how many games in a season he shoots better than 50% from three. I don't know. It's not hard to find out. I just haven't done that, right? And let me just make one. Let me be salty for a second. Let me be a little petty, if you don't mind. Can I? Can I be like petty? Do I have your permission to be petty? Timmy has one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen. Like it's up there with Klay Thompson, right? It's a beautiful shot. That shot is pure looking. And I have never seen someone with such a beautiful shot have so many horrific results to that beautiful shot. Like how many times have we seen THJ rise up wide open and clang it off the backboard? This guy's a shooter, right? He's a shooter. He's supposed to be lethal. He's supposed to be money. And then it's bang off the side of the backboard. It's clang off the extreme side of the rim, and it just goes flying back off. Like good shooters, great shooters do not do that so consistently. Now, everybody throughout a season, and certainly everyone throughout a career, has horrific misses, right? But the purest shooters minimize those big, bad clangs. Everybody's got them, but THJ, even as pure as that shot looks, he has so many of them. I want to conclude, and then I'll get to the comments here in just a second. So in conclusion, THJ is a shooter whose shooting can be replaced by players who do other things better. Defend, pass, dribble, play, make, facilitate, glue guys. And they can do it significantly better, and many of them are as good a shooter as he is. The basketball is better, statistically speaking, the team basketball is better when he is not on the floor. And this has been true for much of his career. In his 10 years, he's only been net positive 3 times. 3 times, and only once with the Mavs. And I think it was offensive rating 116, defensive rating of 115. I mean, it's still positive. I'll take it. Beggars can't be choosers, right? And I think he had one more season with the Mavs where he was a net an even player. I've heard guys on Twitter X that I really respect say things like, you got to have someone out there who's willing to take the shot. Who's willing to take the shot. And they say that thinking that that's a really good argument to have a volume shooter like THJ out there. And you know what? Let me give you some credit if you've made that argument. That was a good argument in 2003. This is 2024. And you know what everyone does in 2024? Say it with me, class. Shoot. Everybody shoot. Everybody shoots. Everybody and their granny shoots in 2024. This is the post-Steph Revolution NBA. Everybody shoots. Everyone is willing to jack it up. Everyone can shoot nowadays. This isn't the 90s or the early 2000s NBA where the big men were in the post and ready to rebound and the power forwards were big bruisers and the guards, you'd have maybe a couple on your team who could hit threes. No, everybody can shoot. Everybody can shoot. And so someone saying, hey, he's got value because he's a volume shooter, it's just no longer appealing if what you're trying to do is win in the NBA. If for you, shooting is all you bring, you can do that. You absolutely can have a role in the NBA, and you can make probably in your career $80 to $100+ million nowadays, the way contracts are. But you better be elite. You better be Joe. What's his name? Isaiah Joe with the Thunder, right? One of these guys who's just, oh my gosh, you left him open. One of that kind of thing. You better be a great catch and shoot 3-point shooter. You better be a great 3-point shooter if that's what you bring to the table and it's all you bring, because that's all Hardaway brings. The league has been flooded with great 3-point shooters. It's what the league is now. The 3-point shot has revolutionized the game thanks to guys like Dirk, right? It's the big man revolution, but then especially thanks to one little kid out there in the Bay, right? So I know there's nuance missing from some of my data. I know that. I know there's a lot of other data that's out there. This is just kind of skimming the surface, dipping the toe in this conversation. But all of the data that I was able to kind of just dig up and clop together paints one type of picture. And it's not like there was a whole lot of really great THJ stats out there and I left them out on purpose. Now there may be some better ones out there, right? Like to be fair, I don't have this in my notes, but let me just say he has a few seasons where he's been pretty good from 2. Like this season, I think he's pretty good from 2. The problem is that's not his game. That's not where he adds value. That's not what we need him for. We need him as a stretching the floor 3-point shooter. That's his value in the NBA. I know that his daddy wants him off the team. He wants him to be somewhere where he gets the respect that he deserves, right? And what I would just say, and I've been saying this for 3.5 years, is I really hope Tim Hardaway Sr. gets his wish. I think that would be what's best for who? The Dallas Mavericks. And that is who I care about. Tell me what I'm missing. What am I missing when it comes to THJ? What am I not seeing? Where am I being short-sighted? You guys want to, y'all can help me out. Let me go over the comments here. Scott says, preach. That's funny. I'm a preacher, Scott. THJ is trash. This school is trash. Sometimes he can be, for sure. For sure. Scott says, if you watch every Mavs game, which I'm sure a lot of us here do, the eye test backs all this up. Yeah, absolutely. TGK, what's up, my man? I've noticed Kid plays a lot of Kyrie, THJ, Hardy. Oh my gosh, it's just like a slaughter fest, isn't it? He will not do that in the playoffs, and if he does, he'll do it once, and then as online as Kid is, he'll hear about it from the fans. The THJ, Kyrie, Hardy lineup blows. It melts any sort of sense of chemistry the team has out there, offensively and especially defensively. Williams says it messes with the curve. Yeah, that was earlier. Yeah, breaks the curve. He's a curve breaker. There we go. THJ is the X factor. Is THJ the X factor? Yeah. Are we wanting bad things to happen or good things? Yeah. And when he's hot, man, he changes things for the good. The problem is that happens 1 out of every 5 games, 1 out of every 4. I know it's not more often than 1 out of every 4, right? William says, I think we've got a couple X factors, which is kind of a fun place to be. Yeah, this roster is fun, man. I love watching them. I know we all do, especially the way they've been defending recently. It's just like contagious to watch them all scrap and fight and claw and not give an inch. Gosh, how crazy it is as a Mav fan to say this team doesn't give an inch when for the last decade we've given you I almost said something dirty. We've given you all you could handle. We've given you all you could handle. All you wanted. Excuse me. We've given you all you want. You want it? You can have more than an inch. We've seen it a million times. Hey, what's up, Rel? What's up, my guy? What's good? Yeah, that's what we were told. We were told he's a good shooter. Shoot. I'm willing to put King's house on it. I think THJ will be gone this offseason. I'm with you, Rel. I too will bet it all on King. I'll bet King's house on it for sure. Scott closes out. THJ being gone is on my Amazon wish list. Oh man, add me to that bucket. Absolutely. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here in just a second, guys. I asked a few people just to chime in. Let's see here. What did we get here? Likes. What are your current thoughts on Timmy Hardaway? Oh, only got one comment. Tim is the reason Luka doesn't win MVP this year. He's got to go. Whoa. I don't know about that. That is a fiery hot take, Steve. That one is hot. Let's see if we can. All right. So we got no traction there on Twitter. All right, guys. So it doesn't sound like any of y'all have any major pushback. Let's hope he's gone. And I don't want to be mean, man. I'm just looking at this stats and going like, yeah, that feels right. That feels right. Thanks for the compliment there, William. That's great. If you guys are still hanging around, go ahead and hit a like or something like that. That would be most helpful. If we don't have anything else, guys, I'm probably going to wrap it up. I kind of just said my piece. Like I said, I'm so pro Mavs that I don't want to speak ill of a Mavs player. Like I want him to make every three he ever takes, probably like you. I want him to never miss. Oh, one thing that I didn't have in my notes, I would say that historically he's been a really clutch free throw shooter. Like when THJ's taking free throws, I feel good about that. Like I feel solid. I'm like, yeah, these are probably both going in. I just hoped TGK says, I just hope THJ brings us back an SF. An SF. I don't know what an SF is, TGK. Is this me being an old man and not knowing? Better beard than Harden, though. That beard is... Dude, imagine the life this guy has. And I say that with no malice at all. Like, imagine that life. He's a good-looking dude. He's, 6'5", 6'6", super rich. Like, man, that's a life right there. You know, sometimes God gives with both hands, right? Like sometimes the blessings are just big, right? There we go. Oh, a small forward. Yeah. Oh, we're just basketball lingo. There we go. Yeah, small forward. That would be nice. There we go. Yeah. I hope he brings us back a quality SF, a small forward. Absolutely. Who has some position flex. That would be awesome, right? Don't even get me talking about Omax for next season. I know he's not this season. I know he's not yet. But I'm already kind of like, I'm mostly focused on the playoffs like all y'all, but I'm already, when Omax is in these last couple games where we've been getting blown out, I'm like, this could get better here. This could get better here. He could contribute here. He could take these minutes here. Like, I'm already thinking like that. And that's probably not healthy because, like I've said online, I bet he's a part of a trade package. If we're bringing back something of real quality, THJ will be a part of it. Maybe Josh Green will be a part of it if it's a huge contract. But Omax might be the jewel of it, right? Omax, if I'm a GM and I'm willing to take back some contracts that aren't awesome, I'm talking to Nico and going, let's start with Omax. And then, yeah, I'll take these contracts you're not thrilled with, you know. All right, guys. Y'all were a lot of fun today. I loved your comments. Y'all have me cracking up. It's good to see y'all. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up because, man, I know there's going to be so much more awesome content out there. You watch TGK out there. Go check out We Talk Mavs out there. They're putting out nothing but pure gold around this time of year. We're all amping up, getting ready for the playoffs. I know this wasn't playoff specific, but I kind of put these stats together in this video together thinking like, man, what would be best? What gives the Mavs the best odds in the playoffs, right? And I'll be the first one to say, like all y'all, like if he's hot, let him shoot. But if he's not, get him gone. Between the next time we see you and now, y'all have a good one. Go Mavs.